TV la take golle motude jogitem Fulbe TV television gangonde ten golle Fulbe TV la take golle motude jogitem Fulbe TV television gangonde ten sayede Fulbe TV wari kam am tawal demen Fulbe TV wari to men Fulbe.
So I'm supposed to talk about networking. I will start by, first of all, giving you kind of a brief summary of my career background, because I would want to reference that as I talk about networking. But just to test whether some of you can speak, I would ask, when we say networking, what comes to your mind? What do you think it is about? Of connecting with influential people, right? So, like I said, I would want to start first by talking about a quick rundown of my career background. Mine is a bit similar to Cyber, and it's important to highlight that because it's also something to be learned from it. I was an artist when I was younger, so my first work getting paid was painting billboards. Then they didn't have these printers, posters, so people used to paint by hand, right? So that's what I did before I traveled to go study, after I finished high school. So I did that very casually. It was a talent I had, but no passion for it, no motivation. It gave me money when I needed it. I didn't have family responsibilities, so I did it to get a little bit of money, do whatever I wanted to do. When I traveled, I went to study. So studying, again, as Saibo said, different things that I was interested in. So I would think this was going to be my career, then the next minute something changes. I think one of you just asked Jawa as well. I think Prof asked her what's her career plans for the future. You can see that she's not determined, like this is the exact path yet. She is young, so she has the time to navigate. And so the first point is that your career is not like a straight line where you just, boom, you know exactly where to go and you're going. Through life, Cyber did mention that, you learn certain things, you experience certain things, and they divert you. So when I went to the UK to study in 2001, right? What I went to study was business management, business administration. The reason I went to study that was just to get a visa, travel, because my friend was after me, oh, you have to come over, you have to come over. I had no interest in business administration. You mentioned that as well. So I was just going to get a degree. I started that, it was boring, and I didn't last, so I stopped, right? Then, I want to be a diplomat because I like, the whole drama and glamour of, international relations. You would see it on TV and the like. So I went to do a degree on international relations. I didn't last very long there as well. I didn't find it interesting. I left. Then somebody told me, oh, you love science, so you should do forensics. Forgot what the full name of the course was. I tried that. I liked it, but I had to wake up too early, and I wasn't too motivated. So I ended up leaving that as well. Right? So after I took a little while just doing other people's assignments and got paid doing that actually. But it got me reading. I always liked reading. There are passions about certain things that whatever you do, they are still going to remain with you. And reading was that for me, so doing other people's theses and assignments was the thing for me. Then my family was telling me of all your cousins, your nieces are graduating, you are wasting your time. And then I decided, okay, I'm gonna do a master's now since I've wasted so much time. I need a shortcut, right? All this I'm telling you is gonna be relevant to what I'm gonna talk about next. So I decided I'm gonna apply for a master's based on the experience of the different activities I did. And so I did that. I started applying. I got one acceptance to do a master's. That was in journalism actually. And that's because of the writings and all of these past experience. And I was also involved with civil society. So I got that. Then somebody asked me to do a thesis in law for them. And I wrote that. And I was fascinated by the whole concepts I was reading and writing about and how my brain was now processing things. And I decided, okay, let me apply for a law degree and see what happens. I applied, I got accepted. I decided, okay, I'll forget the master's. Now I am serious, I'm gonna look into this. I started this career and I realized this was what I had the passion for. And I developed a career out of it, graduated, came back to Gambia, started working. In terms of my work career, when I got back to Gambia, so in the UK, I was mostly in civil society. So I got involved very early on about, the genocide that happened in Bosnia? The Serbian war, you didn't know about that? Yes, so that was the first thing. So I was invited once to attend a commemoration of the genocide the Serbian genocide. And I went there and the story just kind of hooked me, right? And since that point on, I was now involved in advocating for rights and things like that, even before I got into law, that is, right? So after I was part of also Gambian associations there, organizing cultural events and things like that, then I came back to Gambia when Yaya Jammeh left. So I was one of the chickens. So I came back in March 2017. I interned at the Ministry of Justice because I didn't have the, the practicing certificate to practice as a lawyer. So I was at the Ministry of Justice for like a year. Then 2018, the TRRC was set up, and I was at the TRRC. I was employed as the outreach coordinator for the TRRC. From there, I finished with the TRRC. I went back to the Ministry of Justice as a lawyer this time, spent 2 years. Then I was recruited by CSVR, Center for the Study of Violence and Reconciliation. It's an international NGO. It works in transitional justice. I have done teaching, writing, all sorts of things, in between these professional jobs that I took on. So basically, that's my career in a nutshell. So the first point being that what made me what I am today is the combination of the passions I had and the different things I did. Just like Saibo, even what he's doing now, what he's going to tell you his career is shaped by all the Boy Scout stuff that he talked about, the athletics, all of that counts towards this. And that's just the internal person. Now let's talk about networking itself, which is now you with your career, but that career has to move, right? You have to start somewhere and you need to get somewhere. That's the whole point. The reality of it is, as human beings, we always exist in a social setting. You cannot do anything on your own as an individual and get to where you want to get to. So you always need social support around you, right? So you need an ecosystem where you contribute, they contribute towards you. If you listen to Mariama Cham's song, Kondane, the concept is exactly that as well. But my point is, you need a system that will help you get to where you are. So I graduated, I became a lawyer, right? As a lawyer, I cannot do everything within my profession. So if I have a client, I have to be able to do other things that are not within my own power to do. So if a client comes and I have to go to the court, I sometimes have to file a case at the registrar's office. The registrar is part of that ecosystem of the legal process, right? I am not a registrar. He knows the process more than I do. I may know the law, he knows the procedures at the registry more than I do. So I would need somehow to communicate with them. And you were all right in how you define networking or how you understand it to a certain level. So you need to communicate with these components. I take a case and file it at the registry. I need to be able to engage with that registrar for a purpose. When that file is taken to the courts and is distributed, I have to be able to engage with judges. I have to be able to engage with the clerks of the court, because I will tell you something that when you practice as a lawyer, what tends to happen is sometimes the judges make a decision. The judges don't call you directly. They talk to their clerks. Sometimes you are given very little time to find out. So depending on how your relationship is with certain clerks, they may be able to pick up a phone and give you a heads up, oh, we've just decided this. I just wanted to let you know. That gives you a little bit more time to prepare. The little bit more time I get to prepare, when I appear in court, being more prepared makes me more competent in what I do. So my ability to be competent then depends on that person. The point I am driving at is any career that you choose, it's going to be an ecosystem of different actors. You alone, with whatever capability you have, are going to be limited as long as you are not engaging with those people enough or in the right way. So the idea of networking, especially in our environment here, can be looked at in a very narrow way, like a ladder. Okay? It's the same way I see when students are advised or young people are advised in Gambia to develop their CVs. So they tend to go to one activity, write it on their CV, go to. So I've seen somebody that has only had one job in their life, but they have a 5-page CV. It is not, doesn't make sense. Because what it's telling me is that you haven't stayed anywhere long enough to learn anything meaningful, right? So that is important in terms of networking as well. When you're told to network, it's not to look for a job. That is not the entire purpose of it. It can help you get better jobs, but it is not the purpose of networking. So if you treat it like a ladder, you also start treating people as a means to an end, right? You only connect with certain specific kinds of people that you think can help your career. Networking is not about that. It has different purposes, right? So it's not, first of all, targeting powerful people. And that is the one concept I need to clarify here. I think that when we say network, you look for CEOs or you look for popular people that you know are in positions of power. That breeds psychopathy. That breeds this thing of, this is the person I know, and you go try to get a job in a shortcut kind of way. That is not the purpose of networking, right? Networking is, like I said, is an ecosystem where what happens within any network, within any ecosystem, is that it's a mutual beneficial arrangement. You don't only take, you also contribute, you give back. Your network does that for you as a professional, right? What I am able to do as a lawyer also contributes to the ecosystem of the legal process that we have in the Gambia, right? The clerk contributes, I contribute, the judge contributes, the police contributes. That is how the process works. So you get to learn new things, you get to get new connections, you get to come up with new ideas. So the field is also not a static field. Any career you get involved in life is not going to be a static field, right? You will find that usually with networking, engaging with other people, exchanging ideas, that is where those careers expand. Then you find a smaller new field developing from an old one, right? Transitional justice is part of the, it's just a kind of spin-off of the, conventional justice system that we know. I hope you're understanding what I'm talking about, right? So normally you have a country with a legal system, government, courts, and all of that stuff. But you come to a point where lawyers are seeing that these courts cannot deal with certain situations, like when there is a genocide, or when there was conflict, or when there was an authoritarian regime and gross human rights violation. They realize that the courts are too constrained. They are too small to be able to deal with this. We need to come up with a new mechanism that can deal with these things. Transitional justice evolves from that justice system. And it creates its own field. It now opens up more doors for more people to come in and work in transitional justice. So now transitional justice is not only for lawyers, it is now also for civil society actors, it is also for governance professionals, it's for a lot of different people. So networking does all of that. So it's not about just connecting with people who can get you the next job or the next promotion in your career. And so you need to be able to treat it like that. So like I said, building a network also means that you need to offer something in value. It's not just taking. You also give something back, right? So it's not supposed to be transactional. It's about building relationships. Now, relationships, they are always built on what? Trust. Yes. How do you generate trust? How do you create trust? If I now meet you today, like, shake your hand, we are friends now, but I don't know you, you don't know me. We need to build trust with each other. How do we do that? Communicate, yes. So if I told you, okay, I am a lawyer, tomorrow we meet, I tell you I am a doctor. The next day, I come borrow me 200, I need to do something. Next day, oh, you didn't give me any money. What happens? Yes. So you have to have certain qualities to build trust with people. That's what I'm saying. So you don't treat it as a short-term investment where you just make a relationship to get to the next rung of the ladder and then boom, you forget that person. You now look for his superior maybe who can get you to the next rung, and that is it. It cannot be like that, right? So if you're going to be part of a network, you have to have certain qualities that are going to make you, or at least generate trust in you, right? One of those things is that you first of all have to be interested in whatever you people are doing, whatever career or field that you are involved in. It cannot be you in it just for some purpose, but not interested at all. Because what that does is, you're only concerned about what you can get out of it, like I said, and that is a problem. And when people, for example, call you or engage you or seek your advice or want your contribution in any way, you don't contribute anything. So if you're not interested in it, you can't be really a meaningful networker. If you have, let's take a computer system, right? You have a whole computer motherboard with all the different chips and batteries and what think of your phone, for example. If one part of that is not consistent, is not doing the job it's expected to do, is not reliable, the whole telephone or the whole computer doesn't work. So you have to be consistent. That has to be part of the qualities that you have. So your credibility, your reputation, those are critical things in a network. When I started, so I gave you already the example of how I got into this transitional justice and at the continental level. When I got hired by CSVR, that is shifting now from just doing national work to the continental level. I didn't even know that there were people that I have interacted with that were observing what I was doing or that were impressed with what they saw, right? Somebody called me and said, oh, these people were recommending you, but because you are at the Ministry of Justice, we don't want to take you away from the national process because we feel it will be unfair to the government, to the country. And so we just wanted to know what, but at that time I had already finished with the Ministry of Justice. So the first attempt they approached, I wasn't able to make it because I was at the ministry. The second time they approached me to say this, I was free, so I was able to join them. The point there is, when you are doing something, it's not to perform, it's not only when it's a conference or only when people are seeing you. Do your job with the motivation, with the integrity, with the seriousness that it deserves, so that whether people are watching or not, your work, if you are there or not, speaks for yourself. And that requires also, it doesn't come in a day. So it means developing yourself. So you have to be that committed to make sure your work speaks for itself, so that your reputation within that network, that ecosystem that you are existing in, is credible enough that people will take notice. Because that's where the jobs then offers come, or when there is a gap somewhere, somebody can say, oh, CSVR needed an advocacy specialist. Somebody says, oh, get Imran, he's good at what he's doing, right? That is how that comes. And that reputation, it travels around. If you have any negative reputations, or if you don't take care of your reputation properly, you will end up in a situation where you won't hear it. We are all polite when we are engaging, right? Diplomatic. So we will smile at you and say, oh, great, good to meet you. When somebody calls us and says, I'm looking for an advocacy specialist, we'll tell them, that Imran is terrible. Don't take him. He's this, he's that, he's that. Your reputation will travel within that network, any career that you are in, right? And that requires then maintaining it, because that your credibility depends on that. Also, now the thing is, the network itself does not give you anything in extra. It amplifies. It makes what you already have more visible, more accessible to different sectors, different people, different organizations. That's what it does. But that means that competence, your ability to do your job performance well, that you cannot trade for a network, right? You can do that in some settings. In our settings, you can do that. But long term, it really does not yield any gains. If you really want a reputation and a credibility in your career, in your path, you cannot just do politics of word of mouth, right? Pretend, but there is no substance. So your performance, your ability, that has to be the first thing that you bring in on the table, right? If you don't bring quality, no matter how much you network, like I said, people will be nice, we'll chat with you, when we meet at events, we'll engage. But when it's time to decide or to recommend somebody, you are not going to be the one that is going to be recommended. So your performance cannot be substituted for anything else. So your capability, your competence, that has to be honed over years. And that means not only narrowing your interest areas. That is advice that you would have to take for that. Because what Saibo told you, most of his extracurricular activities, extra interests, converge to make his career more solid, right? And that counts. Nowadays, even on your CVs, even your sporting interest and all of these things, people ask for them. And there is a reason for that. We do everything for a reason. So, in a nutshell, I have been given the notification that it's time. I think to summarize it and end it there is that, number one, networking is not a ladder. It's not steps that you will take, just look for whoever is at the top, connect with them, get you to the next level. It's an ecosystem you have to belong to, that you have to contribute and also benefit from. You have to understand that. The second thing that I talked about was that, it has to be not only about getting a job. It's not a job-seeking opportunity only. It can get you jobs, like I said. But you need to be able to learn from others, able to collaborate and innovate with others. You need to be able to recommend as much as others are able to recommend for you. But before all of that, you need to maintain integrity and competence, your reputation and your credibility. That the only way you can do it is to make sure that your work, your contribution to the profession is solid enough to be recognized, right? And that is the only way you can be part of a network. It also requires getting out of your shell. That I had to learn in the process of, and I will conclude with that, Mr. John. You have to, in terms of expanding your network, not keep yourself in a shell, which there is a temptation, even when you go to new environments, to just engage with the people that you know. And you do that, I do that, then our network remains the same. So it's necessary sometimes to force yourself. It's a conscious practice of, okay, I go into a room, what they say usually is actually that the fringe members of the network tend to actually be better opportunities for connecting you with new opportunities than the older ones. Because these ones usually coming from another network, and so they have other contacts that you don't have. So it's good practice sometimes you come into an environment and observe the people that you are not familiar with and engage them. Try to know what they do. Tell them what you do. Engage, converse, and keep up that conversation and communication. That's how these things work. Also, don't underestimate anything and don't prioritize money. Saibo said it and I will repeat it. Because if that is the case, your networking will be very limited. People will come to you sometimes for help. Okay, you may feel, people do that, and I again will conclude with this. People do call me to say, we need this and this and that. And Yesterday I was a solicitor for somebody for free. It is in a way good for me because I have built now a relationship that I know will be appreciated, and I know I may need the person or the organization in another situation. I didn't get any pay for that. I could have said, oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm a professional, I need to be paid, which is important sometimes. But sometimes, so again, you have to use your mind to analyze, to weigh things. But networking, like I said, is sometimes sacrificing, sometimes giving, and then sometimes benefiting from others as well. I will conclude that we are always around. Well, I have not been around for a while, but if you need advice, if they let me know people want advice, I can always engage in advice. And so, it doesn't have to be the end of a conversation. Right. We can continue as much as possible. Thank you.
Very important to have a good reputation. As far as networking is concerned, people cannot know you to be someone who does not stand on his words, or someone who says this and do something different. If people know you to be that type of person, it makes it difficult for people to network, for people to collaborate with you. As young people, it is important that we have a good reputation outside there. That what Saibo will talk about John, or what Imran will talk about John, or what Ali will talk about John is going to be the same thing, rather than talking about different things that they know about the same person. Also, that confidence is also very important as far as networking is concerned. And also we need to learn to contribute, to be able to also belong, to be able to network with people. Also, we should also not prioritize money. They said money is the root of all evil, but equally money is quite important in our daily life or ourselves. But also it's important as young people, we don't prioritize money. When Imran was speaking here, he says, one thing that really touched me is, he said he came from UK and he went to the Ministry of Justice. He was doing an internship for 1 year. So you can imagine that. I know if it is others, they wouldn't want to come from England to come here and be doing an internship for 1 year, which I'm sure will not be giving you what you will be able to get.
Zero pay. I paid my own fuel and my own everything.
So today when you ask people to do that, they say no. And Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they do this free internship. And now those of you who are in political science or who are interested in international relations, I know if you want to go there, some of your friends will even discourage you.
Fulbe TV, la take golle modude, jogitem Fulbe TV.